The Royals are playing. This is their most important stretch of the season coming up here. They got a huge series in Miami to start out. Next 12 games are going to tell us a lot about where this team is buying, selling, or what they decide to do. It starts tomorrow night on Friday. We'll talk about that right now live on One Royal Way. Back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Cole Penfield. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're live on a Thursday night as always. So if you are hanging out in the chat, I do appreciate it. Sorry we're later than normal. Had some technical difficulties to work through. Nate, good to see you as always. Looking forward to having baseball back. Yeah, these 2 days have gone way too long without any sort of baseball. Feels like a missed opportunity by the league to not have like the futures game and the draft be like these 2 days instead of buried on a Saturday afternoon and then the draft kind of unceremoniously on Sunday. Feels like that they need to kind of tweak All-Star game a little bit to where there's not a true like just dead period, over the 2 days leading into the quote unquote second half of the season. But yeah, I'm happy to have baseball back. It's a really important stretch for the Royals as we head toward the trade deadline at the end of the month and the beginning of August, and then it's just a sprint to the finish. So we'll see where they're at. This show is always brought to you by Emprise Bank. Remember, FDIC, our partners in possible here at Kansas City Sports Network and everything we do on this show. We can't thank them enough for that support. Cheers here to everybody on a Thursday night. It's an old-fashioned type of night for me. If you are having a libation while you watch this show, if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to drop it in the comments. Let me know what you're having. I'm curious. So like I said, the series starts in Miami over the weekend, and then they head to Chicago to play the Cubs, who are a very good team. It's going to be a real tough test for this team coming out. Now it is a National League team, so it's not necessarily going to affect the way things go in the AL standings, like with tiebreakers and stuff, but they need to put themselves in position to win. And then you got the Guardians and the Braves for a 6-game homestand, and then that takes you right to the trade deadline. It's 12 games pretty much to decide what the Royals are going to do this season. Right now, as it sits, they are 47-50. So they're 3 games under. I believe they're 4 out of a wild card spot last time I checked, but I want to make sure that has held. 4.5 out of a wild card spot with 4 teams to jump before you get to being in the hunt to get one of the 3 wild card spots, because you have to jump 4 teams, and then there's still a game and a half out. The Rays are from the Mariners, the Red Sox, and the Yankees, who hold the 3 wild card spots. So all of that to say, you got to get hot, and you got to get hot fast. If the Royals stumble out of the second half, I mean, you're so far behind the 8 ball that it's just sell and sell quick. Nate hopping back in here. If they don't win this series, pack up the trucks. Yeah, I mean, Miami's bad. They are improved a little from the last couple of seasons. They got some talent there. They're not. They're 7.5 out of a wild card spot at 44-51. So they're the Royals are 3 or 4 games ahead of them. In the standings. So it's a position where you got to get it figured out now. The Chicago series is probably going to be the one that really decides a lot, depending on how they play. If they come out of that with, they're competitive, but they lose 2 or 3, like you maybe can lie to yourself a little bit and be like, well, hey, if they come home and it's a 4-2 homestand, maybe it'll change things. But I guess the way that I see it, and I heard it, and this is not a unique thought, but I look at it kind of like the Rainey. I'm not going to attempt to say his last name, but Rainey over at Kaufman Corner said, I want them to come out of the stretch either 8-2, in the next 10 games, right? 10, 12 games, like 8-2 or 2-8. I don't want this to be a spot where you're 5-5 or 6-4. And it's like, well, they're playing better. They're right at 500. They're right there. Let's make some moves and maybe we can make a difference. Like, I think we know as this team is presently constituted, like it's not a playoff team. But a hot stretch, if you say they do go like 8-4, I think they have to go 8-4 at a minimum to buy and just solely be buyers at the trade deadline. You go anything less than that, 7-5, 6-4, like you maybe can lie to yourself, but I don't think it's going to make a lick of difference to go for it in that situation. It's just kind of delusional at that point. You go 8-4, a couple of teams ahead of you in the wild card, like the Twins, the Angels, the Rangers, Rays. If they stumble, I mean, you can pick up a couple of games there, and you're right there with Seattle, and then the Yankees and the Red Sox beat each other up in the AL East, and like you're right back in it. But it has to be and play their best baseball right now. The Royals are a good road team this year. Well, relative. I mean, it's weird. Like they're actually about the same. They're 24-26 at home, where they were awesome last year, and it was a big reason why they made the playoffs. And they're 23-24 on the road this year, being 24-26 at home. So they've been about the same team. But I do think going on the road, especially to a team like Miami, who is not great, could be beneficial because you're in another ballpark, and it kind of takes a little bit of that pressure off, I think, because obviously the home fans are going to be antsy because they want to see how the team comes out of the All-Star break. Like, what are they made of? How are they going to handle it? Crowds will be big, and if they lose, like, people are going to stop paying attention. Like, it's going to be one of those sort of things. So maybe going on the road actually does a little bit of good here to kind of get them rolling a little bit. I mean, they're 7-3 in their last 10, so they're playing better baseball. They're playing better baseball into the break. Some of that the Mets series notwithstanding, even though they didn't play well, the Mets really didn't either. Like the Royals were pretty competitive in that series. Ultimately, getting the walk-off win on last Sunday. But you got to take advantage of the teams that are not good. I mean, Miami is one of those. They're a team that yes, they are improved. Their pitching is very hit and miss. Like I'll go through the probables here. You got some pitchers you can take advantage of. When it comes to who they're going to be able to play, who they're going to be able to handle. I'm sorry, guys. I've had a bunch of difficulties with my internet, and it's can't quite figure it out. Okay, my video's back. That's awesome. It kind of threw me off a little bit. So I apologize for the rambling there for a moment. So Friday night, and the Royals have not announced their probables yet. If I had to guess, just pure speculation on my end, that it's going to be probably Lugo, Waka, Cameron would be how I think they come out of the break. I don't think Bubic would throw, even though he threw one inning. Like I think maybe they give him an extra day or so just with some of the stuff around the All-Star break. But it's going to be Sandy Alcantara, who has been objectively bad this year. Supermo, always in the chat here. Thank you very much. It really feels like JJ's saying to us that the guys we have who led us to the playoff berth last year must do it again. Cavalry isn't coming. Pretty much. I do think there is a certain amount of that. Like, you go and get Adam Frazier to kind of, as you said in your previous comment, they're trying to reconstitute the fields from last season. That's a big tell for what's about to happen. I mean, I don't think they're going to go out and try and get like Tommy Pham and Yuli Gurriel and, try and get the boys back together from last season. But I do think as much as that Frazier move may be a little puzzling and frustrating, like he definitely there's a little bit of a floor there that it's higher than, most, even if he's still a below average player. Like it upgrades the bench as I talked about the other day. Like, yeah, it's not great. Yeah, it's weird, but there's something to it. And that may be a little homerish, that may be a little rose-colored glasses, but I'm not been out of shape about it. It is what it is, as I mentioned in the previous episode. Like I said, Sandy Alcantara, who's got a 7.22 ERA. I mean, he's been bad this year. Obviously, coming back from Tommy John surgery is tough for anybody, but a guy that was looked at as one of like the top trade chips, if he's back in, and he's somewhere in the range of like a 5.5 ERA guy. And then on Sunday, it's going to be Jansen Junk, who's kind of like a rookie breaking in 2.68 ERA. A little better than the last two guys, but still kind of a younger dude. Maybe you can jump on him a little bit. It's 38 strikeouts in 50 and a third inning, so it's not a huge strikeout guy. He's going to kind of maybe junk ball you a little bit to make a terrible phrase there. But we're going to learn a lot about this team and where they are coming in here with this stretch of games. I don't know what this team is going to be. Last year, it felt like it kind of had an idea that this team, they were just going to be a team that is a pain in the ass to play. You're going to be frustrated playing them. They're just always in it. They're not out of it. This team doesn't necessarily have, we'll see, maybe the break was something that they all needed and they all come back a little refreshed and ready to go. And, we'll see if they're able to respond. And they have played better baseball as of late. So it breeds some confidence. Bobby and, they all spent some time at the All-Star game around all these guys. They have had good performances in the All-Star game. Bubic not necessarily, but Estevez, Witt, and Michael certainly did. What does that do for their confidence? If anything, I know it's an exhibition, but it's a big deal to be able to go and play, in that game. So we'll see what they have in them. If you want something bad, you got to bleed for it, right? And maybe not literally, but you got to work hard for it. You got to look it in the eye, call it out by name, figure out what you have and what you're able to do. And we'll see what this team has. I'm excited for the second half of the season. We'll talk a little bit about what it could mean, kind of both sides of the coin. If they take this stretch, what does that mean? If they fall apart here in this 12-game stretch, what pieces could be moved quickly and, how does everything kind of play out? We'll do that right after this break.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to. And I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust. And I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in Possible. And they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN. And that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate everybody that is hanging out and bearing with me through these internet issues that I continue to have. I'm working on it. I'm going to make sure that I get it as ironed out as I possibly can. Thank you very much for your patience, for continuing to listen, still hanging with me here on a Thursday night. So, obviously a big stretch as I rambled about for 15 minutes or so on the other side of this. Let's look at kind of the scenarios for how is this going to look and what needs to happen for this team to make a run and for them to, show that they could be buyers at the deadline and not just, maybe a little bit of both or just entirely selling. So yeah, 3 against the Marlins. So we got to kind of map this out here. Yeah, 3 against the Marlins. I think you have to win 2 or 3 at a minimum, but you need to sweep more likely than not because of the situation with the Cubs going there, where you're probably going to get 1, if not none. At that point, you're 3-3, which means you need a 5-1 there. Now you're able to steal one of those Cubs games, and you go back. It's 4-2. Then you can have a homestand. Obviously, they could surprise us and go win that Cubs game, or win that Cubs series. I mean, and if they do that, it changes the math quite a bit. If you go and it's a 4-2 road trip, or a 5-1 road trip, I mean, you come home if you go 5-1 or 4-2, 9-3 in that stretch. What, 54? If my math, no, it'd be 50. Be 56 and 53. My apologies. And if that's the case, you got a pretty good shot that you're nearing that wild card spot, that third wild card spot, knowing, hey, maybe the Mariners fall out of it with some of their pitching depth issues, and an offensive inconsistency similar to the Royals. And if you beat up on the Guardians, who are kind of fighting with you for that same sort of spot, it knocks them out. The Twins were kind of scuffling coming into the break. A lot can happen, and some of it is contingent on the way that other teams handle the rest of the season. And this stretch of games as well, 12 to 14 games that they're all going to play, for this next 2 weeks. And if you do end up 8-4, 9-3, I mean, you put yourself in a spot where you're playing baseball at So sorry for that, guys. I apologize that my internet just cut out entirely. Not even that it's just spotty; it completely stopped. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for hanging with me tonight. I'm gonna get this figured out. I promise you guys. I'm just as frustrated with this. Anybody that's watching this probably is. All right, so trying to remember where I was. I think I was somewhere along the lines of if they go on a hot stretch here, you put yourself in a position to buy and just solely do that and make a run at it. And I wouldn't be opposed to that if they start playing good baseball out of this. Now, we do have to talk about the other side, which is they just pee down their leg in Miami and lose 2 or 3. And then you go to the Cubs and you lose 2 or 3 or you get swept. That's a 1-5, 2-4. And at that point, you need a undefeated homestand to put yourself in position where you're at 500 or close to it to get yourself in position to win. And at that point, if they go 2-4, I'd be making calls on the 24th. I would just, hey, we got to wipe our hands of this. It's not happening. I know that they may not believe that, but at a certain point, you got to, call a spade and just know, hey, this team just doesn't have it. Lugo traded either way. I think so. I think regardless, you make a move on Seth Lugo. I think you have enough pitching depth to kind of handle it. And I would assume that if you move Lugo, maybe you make a move for a rotation spot. This also assume it depends on the health of Cole Reagans as well, who looks like beginning of August he's going to be able to come back. But I don't know if that means he's going to start rehab in August and then it's 2 rehab assignments then, and then it's mid-August by the time he's back. I don't know. We haven't heard that timeline update. Even though he is throwing and things are progressing well, still got to be cautious. And you also got to wonder if they're out of it, do you even let Cole Reagans throw again the rest of this year? I would consider just shutting him down, letting him get work in. He's already on the 60. So it's not like you have to make another roster move for it to happen. But if Cole's already on the 60, maybe you just keep him there the rest of the year, let him get healthy and ready to go rather than take the chance of rushing back. But I do think either way, so kind of jumping around here, I apologize. The prudent move would be you move Seth Lugo regardless. He has the player option. There's no chance he's pitching in Kansas City next year. Maybe no chance, but a small percentage chance that he's not pitching, that he'd come back. But the Royals aren't going to pay a guy $22 to $25 million that he'd probably get on the open market. It would be a really tough spot to go, hey, we just got to ride this out with him, and then you lose him for nothing. And because it's a player option, it's not like you get a comp pick because it's not true free agency. And he's not, and I don't think Lugo would make enough to hit the competitive balance pick for losing a free agent. So it's a really tricky spot, but you have to find a way to make your team better for now and the future. And if you still believe that you're going to be competitive next season, you're going to be able to compete for a playoff spot, then you have to make a move on Lugo to make your team better for next year. Win or lose, playing well, not playing well, it puts you in a better spot to make that move because it might net you something decent. Even if it is just a rental, with it being what potentially could be a buyer's market, teams might overpay for him, to head up their rotation. The Yankees might overpay, get a little desperate for a guy behind a Carlos Rodon and Max Fried. There's some inconsistency in their rotation. They've dealt with some pitching injuries. The Dodgers just go, hey man, look, we got a bunch of prospects here. Just take one. And I don't think they would get like a Josue de Paula or a Zaire Hope. They're not going to get that kind of number, but they got plenty of guys that, you could go get. The Cubs are a team that's been linked to them, as we've talked about before. So there's going to be a market for him. And I think they need to act on it. Just not only to try and make this team better now to get some cost control guys in there and kind of work that, but also for next year and beyond. It would be the best thing for them to do. But then I could also see them How do I phrase this? Like, nope, he's going to give us our best chance to win, and hey, we'll eat it, even if it may not be the best business decision on the planet because we're trying to win now. Like, I get it. You don't know how many opportunities that you're going to have. So Kevin in the chat here, think they'd have to get a rotation guy to justify trading Lugo. Rotation options are thin. Got to get through the rest of the year. Yeah, I think that is the tricky part of it. Maybe you get, even if the trade may not be the immediate thought is, okay, go trade Lugo for an outfield bat, right? But maybe you trade him for a young starter. Like I know that like a Ben Brown for the Cubs could be a guy that you buy and you see what he can do, what Brian Sweeney and Zach Bove can do for him, a guy that struggled this year. It's a 6.13 ERA and 14 starts, 91 strikeouts and 79 innings. So like the raw stuff is really good. I do want to look at one thing now that I'm on the topic of Ben Brown, because I'm semi-intrigued by an idea here now that my brain is going a little bit. So bear with me for just a moment. They say that is the move. Like it's a controllable arm. The Cubs may put themselves in a position where they can go and make some, moves in free agency and, try and make a splash for somebody. I'm not exactly sure, but I could see the Cubs kind of acting like a big market Chicago team with this current window. But they also may be spending a lot of money on Kyle Tucker, which would be kind of the intriguing part of all of this. So there we go, 70 innings. Ben Brown. So Ben Brown is a fastball, changeup, knuckle curve guy. Knuckle curve is very good, but he doesn't throw a slider. What's the one thing that the Royals, that Brian Sweeney and Zach Bove have done, and this is where I think a huge part of their pitching development has been teaching guys to throw sliders and being effective with it. Cole Reagans didn't throw a slider when he came to Kansas City. It's a pretty damn good pitch. Michael Wacha didn't throw a slider. He was fastball, changeup, curve. And he added a cutter, and he added a slider last season as a guy in his mid-30s. Lugo has obviously expanded his pitch mix, but he's added that, a couple of different variations of a slider as well. Slider, sweeper. They tweaked Lorenzen's slider and sweeper a bit, when he came over. So it's something they can teach and something they can do. And maybe that unlocks something for him. Because I do think like some of the raw, stuff with a guy like that could get very interesting if that's the move. And this is all theoretical because I don't know if Seth Lugo is going to the Cubs, or I don't know if Ben Brown is even available. But I mean, for a guy that throws almost 96 with really good extension and some decent K numbers, that dude gets barreled up like crazy. So there's some things they can do. The walks actually aren't that crazy. It's 27 walks in about 80 innings. Like it's a little high, but I look at the strikeouts and I'm like, okay, there's something there with this dude. Stuff Plus doesn't necessarily love his fastball, but he throws it, 96, 98. He doesn't, let's see, what's the spin on it? It's like a average-ish spin with 17 induced vertical break. They probably can reshape it a little. That's something that can be done nowadays with all the data out there. Maybe I went down a rabbit hole that I shouldn't have because we have no idea what the trade could look like, but maybe that's, just throwing something out there, folks. But it's not just going to be Lugo if they really fall out of it over the next 12 games. Like Carlos Estevez's name is going to get thrown around. Michael Lorenzen's name is probably going to get thrown around. It may hurt to hear this, and it's something I've talked about a little bit before, but I do think you consider Chris Bubich. Now, you don't make the move just to make it. That would be like a serious, like you get blown away by the offer type of situation. also dependent on how they feel about potentially signing him to an extension. I think he looks to me like an early extension candidate. I would consider it. Not break the bank, but I do think you could keep him around if he has a really good relationship with Sweeney and Bove, which it seems like he does. There is potential there that that he could stay around long term. They have one more year of control next year. It's contract year, and maybe it's an extension trying to get done early because, as the late great Therese Paylor would say, the contract year is undefeated. And it may end up out of your price range if you don't get it done now. And if you don't have any intention of doing that, then make the move now, make the move this offseason, and see what you can net for him. Because the Royals have shown they can develop pitchers, with this regime. So with that, it makes it a little easier to stomach giving up some of these guys because hey, we can work this. The perfect example is whether what we want to relitigate the Jonathan India trade at the end of the season, we can do that. The big part was being okay with trading Brady Singer, who gave you 180 innings of 3.5 ERA last year, and going, we're good. We know what we have. And then Chris Bubich and Michael Lorenzen and Noah Cameron giving you solid, Lorenzen giving you solid, ish 5 starter innings. Chris Bubich giving you all-star innings, and Noah Cameron giving you rookie of the year type innings. Like it shows what they can do with pitchers now, that they can develop them and get them here, or they can take established guys, tweak their stuff, and make them better. So making moves on pitchers, the rotation would be thin. Yeah, I trust implicitly Sweeney and Bove to get it figured out. I think they've earned that. Even in the year where they won 56 games, felt like they had some stuff going in the right direction there with the pitching side. Clearly they have that figured out. We'll see what this team has in them, man. This is as the title of this shows, it's the most important stretch of the season. They have to go out and they have to go 8-4, 9-3 to feel like they have a chance of contention and, rope us into believing that they can at least get there and be competitive to the end. Even if they do that and they go and get a bat, they get a reliever, whatever they decide to do at the deadline, it still doesn't guarantee anything. There is absolutely nothing guaranteed that they will even get to the wild card, let alone even make the playoffs, right? But if they're in it to the end and they win, I don't know. I think even at best, I think you're looking at a team that wins 77, 78 games. Even with the second easiest schedule, that doesn't move me because you still got to go and beat the teams in front of you. And we've seen times this year they can't do that. Can't beat the White Sox, can't beat the A's. In those 2 pivotal series when they really were playing some rough baseball. We'll see what they have. I'm excited for this stretch because of what it means for the rest of the season. And for some of you, whether you decide that I'll just watch Chiefs training camp and I'm good. I know what it means for the viewers, the viewership of this show and the listenership of this show if they decide to come out and play like crap for a week and a half. So I'm obviously rooting for it, but we'll see what happens. I'm pumped up, fired up as always, and I'll still be here whether they're winning or losing. So we'll talk on Sunday night after the series in Miami, and we'll see what they have. Let me get the pitch times for you. So it's a 6:10, 3:10, 12:40 Central Time first pitches, and then they head right to Chicago. So on Sunday 8:30. Hopefully my Wi-Fi keeps up and cooperates. We'll talk about that series and then what it means for the Cubs series, and we'll see how things change from now to Sunday. Toast game to everybody that listened and was very patient with me through the various internet issues. I appreciate you guys. And and shout out to Nick behind the scenes for being absolutely freaking awesome, a rock star producer for me all year and especially tonight with all of these issues. Cheers to you guys. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Supermo. Nate, if you're still listening, thank you very much. We will talk on Sunday night. Have a great one, everybody.